I'm curious about the trip to Cuba. We had a chance to go to Cuba, call a game, meet the president of the United States and President Obama. What did that mean to you?
That was really cool. I'm not going to lie to you. That was awesome. That's actually you right there. I'm showing you somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the light's actually zooming in on you, but you're there.
I'm the photo bomber right there. Yeah,
you're the photo bomber. But we got you. I got you, right? That was really cool, Doug. And you experienced it. I don't think words do it any justice to be able to. I remember them asking us, "What are we going to ask the president?" And I had no idea what I was going to ask the president at the time. I remember you wanted to. I remember you were very. You had so much conviction in what you were going to ask when it came to Rachel Robinson having been there and everything. And I thought it was a great, a topic to talk about. And all I knew is that I was going to meet up with my cousins. That's all I knew. I was going to meet up with my cousins, and they live in Cuba from my dad's side, and they were going to be there for the weekend while I was there and while we were there. And I needed to ask them first before I could ask the leader of the free world. Look, it was 1928 when Calvin Coolidge, the last sitting president, ever set foot in Cuba. And you and I and Carl Ravitch and we were there. We were the only ones that were going to be able to interview the leader of the free world in an island that is not free. He did a press conference. He did a speech in Cuba, but no one ever asked him any questions. It was Carl, the first one to ask him a question. And I thought we had a unique moment with the first African-American president. And again, the second president to set foot in Cuba since 1928. And the first one, better said, since 1928. Jimmy Carter had visited Cuba, but he already had been president and he was not an acting president. Man, I mean, that was a moment. That's a moment I won't forget because I listened to all the stories from my grandfather telling me how great that stadium was when he was young. And he used to go watch games there. And to all of a sudden, we were sitting there, and before the president got there, there was a jersey with Obama on it right to our left. And I'm like taking pictures of it. And I remember them telling us, no selfies. You know me. Selfie I'm going to do. So as soon as they told me no selfies, I was like, all right, I want to see how you're going to get me to not take a selfie here. So I'm glad that you were in it because I thought it was important. I'm ecstatic of it. I tell the story wherever I can. I explain it. I pinch myself for it. And I think you as well should, because I was so proud of us to be able to do that. And I'll tell you what, I did get some messages from Cuban people that were upset that we were there.
Right. Sure.
And I was like, we went to do a job, but at the same time, I felt it was necessary. And then my cousin's question was, what difference is his visit, the president's visit, going to make, not to them, but to their kids and their grandkids? Mm-hmm. Because that was his last year in office. Somebody else was coming in. We didn't know at the time who was coming in, but we needed to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, that experience was transformational. And I think part of it, I mean, just waiting to go on the flight and all the people that were sort of the delegates, right, of baseball, yep, from every network. And we were all so in awe that we just became this immediate family. Like it just melted away so many things that may have divided us or had different points of view. It was just like, all right, we're all here and we recognize the magnitude of the moment. And I just remember the president coming in, first of all, there was a incident in Brussels, right? It was it was a bombing or something happened. And for a split second, we were like, he might not come or he might not stay because they had to address it. And we weren't sure. And so that morning, Secret Service, everybody's kind of going around. And so we kind of got the green light that he was coming. And I remember being in the booth and the silence, like it was one thing, he came in, they introduced, and it was silent. I have a video of this, like 3 minutes of just like we were on air and we just stopped talking. We just stopped talking.
Yeah.
It was something. And the context of that, while there was like dudes with rifles on the roofs and stuff. I mean, this was no joke. I mean, and I remember they, in conversation, they had built a hospital by the airport and stuff. I mean, this was serious. So, and at one point, just coming back from, I went to dinner or something, and I got stuck with the taxi. I got stuck in the presidential motorcade, and actually tried to film something, and it went on for like minutes. I mean, there was 30 cars in this thing. So, I mean, it was quite a collision of so many different moments. But I think the disarming feeling of like, wow, this is so much bigger. You always feel like baseball is bigger than life in certain ways, but this was something else because it was it was a diplomacy, and we felt like we represented something so different than our own personal stories. So, I mean, and you mentioned the question. Well, I asked about Rachel Robinson. Rachel Robinson and Sharon Robinson, daughter of Jackie and wife of Jackie, were flown in with President Obama on Air Force One. And I wanted to know why. Like, why was that important to him to bring them to Cuba? And for historians out there, 1947, when Jackie Robinson broke into Major League Baseball, the Dodgers had spring training in Havana, Cuba. That's where they had spring training. And there was a lot of reasons for that. One of which was Florida was really nasty with race. And so they kind of thought that would be a change of scenery. I think the Reds at some point, then they go down there at some point.
Yeah, the Reds, the Sugar Kings. Yeah.
So there was, some precedent, some way that they and set precedent. So I remember learning about that story. Now, Robinson, the thing that was interesting about the Dodgers is they still segregated the team when they were in Cuba because of, the internal history and challenge. So Robinson, I think it was Don Newcomb and Junior Gilliam, they stayed out in like some crazy hotel 20 miles away. And Newcomb was not happy about it. They weren't happy, but Robinson sort of stiff upper lipped it and went in. So so one morning when we were getting ready to do Sports Center all day, it was I think it was a day before, I get a message from Fernando Lopez. He says, "Hey, Rachel Robinson is available and she doesn't do a lot of one-on-ones. You just need to get ready now. You're not doing any of the sport. You're interviewing Rachel Robinson in Cuba right now." And I was like, I had a heart attack. I was like, I had no questions. So here's Rachel Robinson. And and nobody has a phone, right? We had these burner phones and we're trying to find them. And Rachel's family, like they didn't have a phone. We had to track down someone on MLB who was with them and all that. And finally, we're just waiting on the floor where she's staying. And finally, Sharon just comes out of the elevator. We're like, oh, wow, Sharon. So it's like, oh, okay. She wants to get a haircut. And there actually is a hair salon in the basement of this hotel. So you got to wait for her haircut.
She was getting a haircut in Cuba. Yeah,
she was getting a haircut. She was going to the salon in Cuba for this interview, and she wanted to look right. So I go down, so now she walks me in there, and Sharon says to me, "Look, you need to take her back to her room because I have this thing to do halfway through your interview, and I can't stay. So you have to stay with my mom and then take her back to her room." So I do this interview right outside the hair salon, and it has an outdoor concourse, so there's like plants and stuff. I do this one-on-one with Rachel Robinson, and her question, mind blowing. And then I have lunch with her for like an hour, and I couldn't. My mind was exploding. Like I'm sitting with Rachel Robinson right now, one-on-one, just talking about kids, and she was so gracious and so insightful and so sharp at like then I don't know 95 or something like that. And I had this honor of just escorting her back to her room. And it was just like, just unbelievable, this convergence, right, of all these elements that, were really emotional. So every moment was kind of like that there. And the game, just was almost a backstory, right? It wasn't really, it was something else.
That's fascinating. I feel like I'm the one interviewing you now, because that right there was awesome. That right there is a great story. I did not know that. I had no idea that. I knew you had told me. He goes, I don't think you told me. Wait till you hear about the day I had. Yeah. I had to wait 8 years for this.
Well, I know we used like 2 questions in the game as footage, but I had way more than that. And yeah, I just shared stories and, learned about the kids and everything.